Welcome to On the Whistle this week. We're doing a bite-sized podcast. With me, I've got our associate producer, Alasdair Howorth, joining me. Alasdair, how are you doing today?
Yeah, doing well. Feeling good. Happy to be on the pod.
Absolutely. And as much as I'm keen to maybe get into, was it a penalty? Wasn't it a penalty between South Africa and Ghana? We'll let that play out in however it will. If you haven't seen the penalty that led to Ghana's win, go and Google it. Go and find it on Twitter. You make your own assessments and assumptions. But either way, I think this is a great episode for us to really look forward to the first CAF Champions League Women's Final this Friday in Cairo. Alasdair, I know it's a tournament you've been following really closely. Let's rewind a little bit for those listening out there. How's the tournament taken shape and what's the format been?
Yeah, so like you said, this is the first time it's come about, which has been really exciting. It's been building for a couple of years, and struggles with COVID have kind of delayed it, but we're really excited for it to actually be launched this year. So the tournament format actually is there's 8 teams have qualified from 6 different zones. So they had regional qualifiers throughout the year from all different zones in Africa. And so 8 teams qualified from the 6 zones. So it was the winners of each qualifying tournament and then an additional couple teams. So it's hosted in Egypt. So Wadi Degla, who are the Egyptian Women's Premier League's champions, also qualified. And then because there's no previous winner, usually how they would run it is the previous winner would get an extra slot for that region. But because there wasn't, they gave it to like West African Zone B because of Nigeria's performance in the Africa women and the women's AFCON previously. So there's 2 teams qualified from that region.
Sure, thank you. That's a good overview of what the tournament is. And I know we're going to talk about the finalists, the Mamelodi Sundowns from South Africa, who obviously on the men's side of the game have built a dynasty in the country and been successful on the continent. Of course, Pitso Mosimane coached the men's team. Now he's at Al Ahly. And we have from Ghana a team that have done incredibly well, Hasaacas Ladies. And I know we're going to talk about the teams in a minute, but when you look at the overall tournament, Alasdair, who have some of the standout players been?
I think there's been lots, and I think that's been one of the things that's been really great about the tournament is the visibility. They've Super Sports have had the rights to it, BN have had the rights to it, and for the countries that don't have the rights, FIFA have put it on their YouTube channel. So there's actually been a lot of exposure for the players. So it's been great to see some of them really stand out. I mean, across the board, you've had some really incredible performances, from Vihiga Queens from Kenya, Teresa Ngesha and Gentry Chakangwa have been brilliant. You've had a couple from Malabo Kings from Equatorial Guinea, Stephanie Gabogo and Grace Balongo in particular have been really exciting going forward. But I think the real standout player has to be Evelyn Badu from Hasaacas Ladies, 19-year-old, playing as a second striker. She's a top goal scorer with 5 goals, and she's just been electric, kind of coming not quite entirely out of the blue, but has definitely been the breakthrough kind of performer. It's been really exciting.
If we're going to tune into the final on Friday, who are the standout players we should be looking for in that game?
So Badu is very much the one to keep an eye on, especially for the Sundowns defense. Alongside her, Doris Boadua, who's really important in their qualifying and scored and assisted in the semi-final, playing on kind of coming in off the left wing. It's really good. From the South African perspective, it's really been more of the team. From the Sundowns perspective, they haven't conceded a goal in the tournament, despite playing 2 different keepers for 2 different games in Dlamini and Rabalo. But I think they play with a back 5, and so they really play through their wing backs. And in particular, it's Precious Murifi has been excellent. I mean, I've not seen such an engine on a player. She's constantly up and down creating. And then when they create the chances, if they can get it to Melinda Kagadiete, she's kind of a lethal finisher.
I know you're Kenyan, but I'm going to ask you a question in Scottish roots, given that's also part of your heritage. Who's taken the high road? Who's taken the low road to the final?
Yeah, I think Hasaacas Ladies is definitely the exciting story. I mean, they're kind of a team coming from not a professional league. For the regional qualifying tournament, it was in Ivory Coast, which is only like in Abidjan, it's only about a 6-hour drive from where they're based in Sekondi. But they had to raise funds for that. They had to do a kind of a GoFundMe So like kind of really coming from a difficult position, but they went and won that. They beat Rivers Angels in the final, who were the heavy favorites, the team from Nigeria, who also qualified. And they've just been so exciting. I mean, yeah, I mentioned Sundowns have been the defensive kind of queens. They've not conceded a single goal all tournament, but they've only scored two, whereas Hasaacas Ladies have been the exact opposite. You know, I think in the group stage they scored 8 goals, and then they scored another 2 in the semifinals. You know, they're an exciting team, and they're really fun to watch. I think, you know, their journey has been in particular really great, and the way they've gotten. I think that Ghana has kind of come behind them as a nation. They've really embraced that kind of role. They've been really active on social media. You know, you see pictures of them posting, like posing as a team, and they've really embraced that kind of energy of the tournament. And I think they've been really exciting.
Goals gets the fans in. Defense wins championships. I'm putting you on the spot. Who do you think will emerge victorious in Cairo?
I mean, I think Sundowns have to be the favorites. I mean, in the last 2 seasons in South Africa, since the foundation of the Hollywood Bets Super League, they've only lost 1 game. They didn't drop a single game in qualifying. They haven't dropped a single game in getting to the final. You know, defensively so incredible, haven't conceded a goal, like I said. So they have to be the favorites. I think it'll be really tight though, because I think Hasaacas Ladies they really provide the threat that the Sundowns will kind of really have to kind of reckon with. They did struggle against Malabo Kings when they were playing. They were given a lot of grief by the really physical front three of the Malabo Kings, and I think Hasaacas Ladies are quite similar, really direct, counter-attacking team. But I think unlike Malabo Kings, they have a lot of quality in front of goal. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if Sundowns actually conceded. But yeah, I think if I had to go with one, I would say Sundowns, but I think it's going to be really tight.
Brilliant. And I guess as a final question to you, when you look back at what this tournament means for women's African football in the wider context, maybe we'll end there. What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think there's been real positives and real negatives. I think, you know, the real winner has been the football on the pitch. I think we've seen for the first time a platform of real quality coming through from club sides in Africa, which, you know, we've never had this platform before. Like I said, it's broadcast to the whole world. And the teams have really stepped up. You know, the competition has been extremely competitive. And I think there would have been concerns beforehand because you have such a disparity in some of the leagues. You know, in the North African leagues in South Africa, you have really strong professionalized leagues, and others it's semi-professional, even amateur. And so but every team has stepped up. So I think it's been really competitive, and it's been a great platform for the teams. And I think the players in particular have been able to really shine and kind of pull through their quality. But on the other hand, I think it still doesn't necessarily address some of the issues that are facing a lot of clubs in Africa. Like I said, you know, Hasaacas had to raise funds just to get to their qualifiers, and then they had to do it again, and same with Vihiga Queens and quite a few others to make it to the tournament. I think CAF only provided like financial support in terms of accommodation and transport in Egypt, so all the teams had to fund themselves to get to the qualifiers and then get to the actual tournament. And so I think there's still such a long way to go in terms of professionalizing leagues and building that kind of competitive atmosphere within individual leagues and regions. Because I think in the regional qualifiers, you saw teams beating others, you know, 10-0, 14-0. So I think while there's still such a long way to go in terms of building a real solid competitive structure for women's football to thrive. But I think, you know, you have to see it as a success in many senses, you know, just to build that platform to demonstrate that there's quality and there is an audience, you know, and African women's football is really on the up. So I think there's positives and negatives, but I think it's a really great tournament overall, and particularly the football has been excellent. And I think football has really been who's been the real winner here.
Alasdair Howorth, our associate producer, thank you for giving us a wonderful synopsis of the first CAF Champions League tournament. If you want to get in touch and you want to tell us whether you agree with Alasdair, will it be Mamelodi Sundowns who win, or will it be Hasaacas Ladies? I mean, it's certainly a game that we'll be watching with lots of excitement. Hit us up on social media, OTW_podcast on Twitter and Instagram, or find us on Facebook, comment on our YouTube account at On the Whistle Podcast. And you can also get our WhatsApp number that's on all our accounts. Join our broadcast list and never miss a beat when it comes to getting the latest podcast from us. Alasdair, thank you again for coming on. Arrivederci, enjoy the final, and we'll connect next week.